Hello, PPM family. Joe Becker here with the podcast for January. Today is January the 27th. It's Friday, and it's 3:38 p.m. So, coming to you again for another monthly podcast. It actually gets harder and harder to do monthly podcasts as we go along, but we got to do it because this is our only means of trying to get you current information on problems, new things, what's changing. Of course, as you know, we've moved to our new location, 625 Pulaski Highway, and that's considered Joppa, Slant Joppa Town. Please stop by and visit our new little place. We're still kind of like a little mini store now, much smaller, literally half the size of what we were before. But you know, as times get tight and money gets tighter, this really was a good move for us all the way around. Okay. So as we kick off here, I'd like to note that if you have not subscribed already to the CPR podcast, please do. At the bottom of your little channel, if you're watching this on your TV, it's a little bit harder to do, but on your computers and stuff, you can see a little up thumb. So that's a little like button, so go ahead and give me a like. And then right beside that, you see a little bell, and that little bell is a subscription button, and it will say you subscribe, which means anytime we put up a podcast, you automatically get a notification or email saying that PPM's podcast is up, and you can just click on the button and follow it. Doesn't mean that you have to, it just means that it's there and available for you to watch at your earliest convenience. Remember now that our podcast is actually beginning to take place of the newsletter. So this is where we will come and kind of give you all the most recent information and items that we need you to see. Now, right now, we only have about a third of our instructors that actually watch this, and we're going to come out and basically say that the podcast is a mandatory function so that everybody is getting the updated information. When we have problems in our monitors and stuff, we find out that they haven't watched one podcast, and a lot of the mistakes they're making, we've already addressed in the previous podcasts. And those that do watch the podcast are doing fantastic on their monitors. So there is a correlation here between watching the podcast and doing a good class, okay? Okay, a couple items as we click off here. First item comes from Kathy. And she says, remember that your username on the HA network is in fact your email address. And we stress again not to use a work address for your email address, because if you leave that position, you get another job somewhere else, you can really not use that email address anymore, so it becomes a real problem. So always use your own personal email address. That way that stays with you regardless wherever you're at. If you don't have one, start one with like a YouTube, or there's about 1,000,001 different ways you can start a new email address out there now. And so start your own email address, and then that becomes one that you use for us or for the American Heart Association Network. Okay? If you forget that, forget how to get in, or you got a problem with that, contact Kathy. Second of all, we had some issues with some confusing messages pop up, where one of our instructors went to log in, and it said to her that you haven't completed such and such, please take this. And she went online and took the course, and it was like $36 to take this course, which she didn't need to take. She had already had that, it was already taken care of. Heart Association doesn't know how that happened, of course, and of course we couldn't get the money back for her. So if anything like that pops up when you're trying to log in, stop where you're at, get in touch with Kathy, because something is wrong somewhere. Okay, so just don't blindly follow those links and pay Heart Association for something that you didn't need, you've already done. So that's been kind of a weird thing pop up. We've only had one instructor that happened to, but even one is too many. Okay, so if you see something like that, stop, call Kathy. Okay, also, she's got down here, and which I'll speak about again, is the fact that for 3 years now we've been talking about the fact that you need a child mannequin to teach your CPR classes. AHA has added this into their PAM program, so that if you look it up in your PAM manual, you'll see the request. And again, when you look at this logically, and we've talked about this before in many podcasts, the fact that when you're actually doing work on those mannequins, the child mannequin is so much smaller that it really brings home to your student that this is a child and not a big adult, or we're playing that the adult is, no, that just doesn't work. We've talked about it now for 3 years, it is mandatory. We've required that now for the last 2 years, and we're still running into instructors that don't have the equipment. So when that happens now, we will shut the monitor down. We'll say, show me adult, child, and infant. If you don't have it, okay, we can stop the monitor now until you get the equipment. That's going to cost you $50 because we're going to have to redo the monitor. The other thing you need, of course, is the bag valve mask, adult, child, and infant, AED trainer, a current instructor's manual, and your current videos. You can't be using a 1912 video on CPR showing cavemen when everything's been modified so many times since then. Okay, so again, proper equipment. Your adult, child, and infant mannequins, your adult, child, and infant BVMs, your AED trainer, one that's working, that the batteries are tested, that you don't get to the class, push the button and it works, a current instructor's manual, and of course your current AHA videos. Okay, enough said about that crazy stuff. Okay, let's get the proper equipment and make sure you got everything. Any questions, call ahead of time. Talk to Kathy about, here, this is what I've got, or this is work it out before we get to the stage of our instructor on the other end of the Skype or FaceTime, and all of a sudden we can't go any further because you don't have the equipment. Okay? We're kind of tired of talking about that. We shouldn't have to keep talking about the same issues over and over again, especially to our loyal fans out there, because you guys are already doing this. You're not the problem, okay? Next item, 1-800-FLOWERS. We had one of our instructors end up in the hospital with some artery problems that had to get cleared out, and she's doing fine now, but kind of a serious condition, and she came very close to some even bigger issues, but all taken care of. She's doing fine, great. Well, as always, anytime we kind of find that out, we typically try to send something to someone that's in very serious condition. So we tried the 1-800-FLOWERS. So we get a notice back a couple days after the fact that they were supposed to be delivered, saying it was undeliverable at the address. Well, that's funny, because it's a hospital, and you know, the flower people take the flowers and give them to the front desk, and the front desk gets them sent up to the person. So we called, or actually I called, and said, hey, what's going on here? Well, the bottom line was, the flowers that they attempted to deliver, the hospital wouldn't accept the flowers. So then I said, well, okay, let's redo that order, bring it here to the office, I'll give it to the husband can take it into his wife, because he's going in and visiting with her. Well, they couldn't redo that flower, because the stuff to put that arrangement together, which looked like a little puppy dog with a stethoscope and stuff like that, that was kind of really cute. Anyway, they couldn't redo the flower because the supplies weren't available to do the flower. So I said, okay, well, what else do you have? What other flowers do you have? Well, we could do this with a teddy bear, and I said, okay, well, that's fine, that's great, let's send that. I said, let's send that to us, and then we'll take it. Well, they can't do that because we can't change the address. Okay, 1-800-FLOWERS, you can't use the address we gave you, which is the hospital, because you're telling us that the hospital won't take flowers, and then you turn around and we can't send it to us because we're a different address. Okay, none of that is making any sense. So we ended up finally, I said, okay, we've tried everything here, just cancel the order, send us our money back. We also did call the hospital, and we said, what's the story with you not accepting flowers? And they said to us, what are you talking about? Of course we accept flowers. So even that was not the truth. They were accepting flowers, and 1-800-FLOWERS, for whatever reason, could not make the delivery. So by the time all this fiasco was done, she was back home again, so we sent a thing to her house with an edible arrangement. We figured she's home now, she can eat those things, and that will be okay. So we did manage to get something to her, but what a fiasco with 1-800-FLOWERS, and the PPM will not be using 1-800-FLOWERS anytime in the near future. Okay, item number 4 coming up here. Looking for substitute instructors. We're looking for some instructors. You know, the Marine Corps said we're looking for some good men. We're looking for some good instructors, and we have many good instructors to help us here at the office on our Saturday classes. As you know, we run 1 or 2 classes every Saturday, and so we're looking for some folks that might be interested in helping out there, or even helping out as field instructors, going out to some of the classes we've got in the field. As many of our instructors have retired or moved off, we're now looking for some good field instructors, okay? Next item here is Annette. Many of you guys know Annette. She was with us for almost 30 years. She moved out to Missouri and had retired, and now she decided that she wants to kind of get active again, as most instructors do. They miss it. And she was one of our great instructors, and so now she wants to go active again. So we're going to go ahead and get some equipment out to her, get her back up to speed, and she'll be teaching from her new location for PPM in Missouri. So I kid her about, what in the world is around her in Missouri, but you know what? She's got some church groups she's already setting up to do. And that's great, because that's, our lay public is certainly our target audience. They're gonna be there when the person goes down, they're the ones that make the difference. Not everybody's got an emergency team that runs onto the football field and knocks out CPR and AED in less than a minute. So the big difference here is we need everybody trained in CPR. We've been saying it for 30+ years, and now when somebody drops dead on the football field and gets resuscitated, now everybody's interested again. So whatever it takes to get the word out to people that yes, this does work, and yes, it does make a difference as far as making a patient back with us again, okay, a successful save. So we're glad that she's coming back on board. Again, a great asset for us in Missouri, and here's fingers crossed that she'll have tons of people to train, and I know she'll enjoy that because she loved teaching. Okay, item 6 here coming up, issuing cards. We've had an issue just recently in reference to putting the student's name on the cards, we talked about that before, and then putting the student's email address. AHA really wants the student's email address on the issuing card. Okay, so when you go into the AHA network, you'll see where you put the student's first name, last name, email address. Okay, that email address should be the student's email address. There's an exception to that. In some cases, you're sending it to their work address, or say a supervisor's address at their work. Heart Association now has backed off and said we can do that. But do not put your email address as an instructor. Do not put your instructor's email address in there as your student's email address. Okay? We just had that happen where they said didn't get their card, and when they called their instructor said to call us. Okay, so we're kind of a last resort there. We go in, we look, well, it's the instructor's email address. No wonder they didn't get the card. So we had to fix that, resend, all taken care of. But really, the instructor should have realized the fact that they had put their own email address on that form, and the card would have been sent to the instructor. Now, was there a reason for doing this? We don't know, but that's not how you're supposed to do it. Okay, it's supposed to be a usable email address to the student, okay, not your email address. Okay, that pretty much wraps up our podcast for January. Not a lot, and we try to keep these podcasts relatively short so that you're not sitting for hours in front of a podcast. But they are important on some of the things we talked about there and kind of get you back up to speed. The interesting thing here is on the comments below, your secret word is keychain pocket mask. So again, your secret word is keychain pocket mask, but you must put that in the comments below. So in your YouTube setting here, you'll see comments. Click comments and put in your secret word, keychain pocket mask. Okay? So many of you are doing that. Some are still sending to my email address. Remember, we want it sent to the comments below. Again, this kind of helps build the YouTube channel for us. And that's about everything. Again, if you think of something you need to talk to us about, questions, comments, things that you'd like to see in the podcast next month, which will be starting shortly, then give us a shout. Send me an email. Talk to Kathy. Tell Kathy you want to see this. Any way you want to get that message to us, and we'll go ahead and include it in the next podcast. Again, till then, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next podcast.